Hi friends, it's Rainy and happy St. Patrick's Day. I decided to do the middle grade book tag today and decided I'd make it a Tag Tuesday, so it just happens to be St. Patrick's Day. So anyway, the middle grade book tag was created by Amanda from the Curly Reader, and I was tagged by Katie from Life Between Words, one of the hosts of Middle Grade March. And I was really excited to see that this tag had been created. And even if I hadn't been tagged, I would have done it. So, anyway, let's get into the middle grade book tag. Question one is: what is the last middle grade book you read? And for me, that is going to be The Tale of Despero by Kate DiCamillo. In full disclosure, as I'm filming this, I am actually still reading this, but I'm only about 70 pages from the end, and it's a really short book. So I think I will get it done today. So by the time you're seeing this, I will have finished this. Tale of Despero is actually my first Kate DiCamillo book, and I've been hearing so many good things about Kate DiCamillo that when I saw this at a library book sale last year, I had to snatch it up. And it is such a delight. And I loved this book. As I said, I'm still currently reading it. But so far, it is just the sweetest little thing. I mean, bad things definitely happen, and there are some dark moments in it, but it's done in such a way that it doesn't appear to be something that a child shouldn't be able to read. And I think it is a um, good way for a parent that is maybe reading this book or guardian to talk about difficult things with their kids. Despero is considered a disappointment in the mouse community because he thinks differently than pretty much every other mouse, and he kind of doesn't understand why he's only allowed to think one way. And then there is a couple of side stories, and everything comes together at the end. And like I said, I haven't finished it, but I have a feeling that Despero is going to save the day and become a honor to his mouse community. Question two is: what is a middle grade book that someone read to you as a child? And my mom read to me a lot as a child. And definitely, before I could read, she read to me. And then even, as I got older and was able to read, it was still just kind of a nice thing that we would do at night until she'd fall asleep, or as she liked to say, resting her eyes. So at that point, whenever she started doing that more and more, is when I started reading by myself. but, um, but yes, so definitely one of the book series that my mom and I read together was the Babysitter's Club series. This is probably the series that I remember most from my childhood. Another book series that my mom remembers reading to me is The Boxcar Children. And this is one that I actually just picked up from the library before it shut down for 2 weeks. And I plan on reading this. I think probably I will have read it by the time you're seeing this video. I remember loving this series, but I honestly don't remember it as well as The Babysitter's Club. So I'm kind of excited to reread this series as much as I can of it, because I don't think that I stayed with it as long as The Babysitter's Club, but the idea of these kids living in a boxcar and kind of being on their own, I really enjoyed that growing up. And it was just totally different from the Babysitter's Club. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this series again. Question three is: what was your favorite middle grade as a child? And that's probably going to be just uh, the same things as the last question. The Babysitter's Club and the Boxcar Children. These were definitely staples in my fun time reading as I was a kid. Question four is: what is your favorite middle grade now? And firstly, my very favorite is Sweep, The Story of a Girl and Her Monster by Jonathan Auxier. And I sadly do not own a copy of this yet, but I really plan to. I need to just buckle down and buy a copy because I really want to reread this book and I would love to have this on my shelf. My other favorite I actually do own, and that is Pages and Co. by Anna James. And I was really excited for this book when it first came out, and there was all kinds of hype on it, and it took me forever to get this book from the UK. There were various mishaps that happened that I finally was able to procure the paperback copy of this, and I'm so glad that I did. And it really did live up to the hype. I was a little concerned at when it took me so long to get this book that I wouldn't love it as much as I did, but I really, really did. Um, this is, I think everybody basically knows what it's about, but partly what I loved about it was, well, the content for sure, because it's about a magical bookstore and a girl who's able to interact with her favorite classic book characters. And I also just loved the formatting of the pages of this book. It was just very fun and interesting. You always wondered what you would find on the next page, as far as like how the words were arranged and everything. So I think, I mean, for me, it was a lot of fun. So I think for a middle grade reader, it would just be delightful to just sit down and physically read this book. So this is definitely up there in one of my favorite books. And because, like everyone else who does this tag, I can't pick just one, and I've already just picked two, I just thought of another series that is a favorite middle grade, and that is Betsy Tacy series by Maud Hart Lovelace. I didn't even know these existed growing up, but this is like a classic book series. And Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading turned me on to this book and to this series. And as you can see right there, I bought the whole series in the PS editions because after I read the first couple in the series, I was just like hooked, and I'm going to have to reread these a ton now. Question 5 is, who is your favorite middle grade author? And for this one, I had kind of a hard time with it because I have read, at this point in time, quite a lot of middle grade, but it's only since I found BookTube that I've been reading middle grade as an adult. So I feel like I'm dipping my toes into a lot of different authors, but I would say that if I had to choose a favorite middle grade author that I've read a lot of his stuff, it would be C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia. This is, my probably the most well-known classic middle grade series. And yeah, I've read this series multiple times. So, and I love every minute of it. I haven't read these actually in a long time. I've read like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but I haven't read through the entire series for a long time. And I've heard of people reading them recently that say they don't like some of them, and some of the earlier ones are the better ones and all that. So I kind of want to reread them and see, now that I'm older, what I think of the rest of the series. So that might have to be something that happens this month as well. But also going along with that, I said that one of my favorite middle grade books is Sweep by Jonathan Auxier, and I just actually finished a few days ago Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes by the same author. So I'm thinking that Jonathan Auxier is going to be, in the end, one of my favorite middle grade authors as well, because I loved Sweep, like hands down my favorite book of 2019, and I really enjoyed Peter Nimble. Question 6 is, what is a middle grade book that you think should be required reading in schools? And I don't have kids. This one kind of was giving me a hard time because I really don't know what is required reading for a middle grade reader right now. I think that the Anne of Green Gables series, at least the first one, should be required reading just because it is such a classic. It deals with a lot of issues that I think would be good to talk about in schools. even some of the prejudices and things that go on in a lot of classic literature, I think is something that's definitely important to talk about with kids, and just the issues that Anne goes through in this, and just even just to see her spunky spirit and realize that it is a good thing and not always a bad thing is something that I think kids are, you know, is worth reading. Question 7 is, what is your favorite middle grade cover? And let's just be honest that so many middle grade covers of books are amazing. Like, they are some of uh, the best thought out covers in literature, if you ask me. Like, they're just so eye catching and engaging. So, case in point, one of them is Pages and Co. And the hardcover book is like incredible because you have the dust jacket, and then underneath you have the naked hardback is just as gorgeous. And this one is, it's the paperback obviously, but it is just as pretty, I think. And and you still get, let me see if I can find it. On the inside, you still get a little glimpse of what is on the naked hardback cover. So I was excited to at least see that, because that was one of the things I was kind of upset about when I couldn't get the hardback version of it. I thought, oh, well, I really liked the naked hardback cover. And so to have that little bit of the nod to it in the first couple of pages was nice. I can't go a question without saying that my other favorite middle grade cover is Sweep by Jonathan Auxier. My favorite color is purple, so there's a whole heck of a lot of purple on this cover. And I love the silhouette of the chimneys and Nan and her friend, who I won't talk about because, that would ruin things. But yeah, I just think this cover is beautiful. And I do need to get this book in my possession because, well, just why not? And lastly, question 8 is, what is your favorite book to screen adaptation of a middle grade? And I had to think about this a while because I'm not like a huge movie person. But I realized that I love at least The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that came out a few years ago, and I actually own it. And I do watch it fairly frequently, which is interesting for me since I am not a huge movie person. And while I haven't watched this in a long time, I remember watching the Anne of Green Gables series that was out in the 80s or early 90s. And I remember watching that and absolutely loving it. And it was one of my first glimpses of Anne of Green Gables, because I think I watched that series before I read the book. So yeah, that was always one of my favorite things to watch as a child. And I guess the last thing that I have to do is tag a few people. And I don't know who has done this tag yet. I've seen it a lot, and if you already did, I apologize. I want to tag Tara from Buzzword Books and Angie from Literary Labors. I hope that you all are having a wonderful week. I hope that you are staying safe and calm in these weird, weird times. I'll talk to you later, friends. Bye.